Hi, everybody. We'll be starting in a couple minutes. It's around 6:31 now, so we'll give it a few minutes and then we'll begin.
Randy, I'm here.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
It's good to hear your voice again on this dark and stormy night.
I know it's like fall again, right? It was summer yesterday and today it's fall.
Yeah, I thought our game would be called off, postponed due to rain, but luckily this is an indoor sport.
Yeah, right. It's a good thing we didn't try to do an outdoor one today. It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. Very wise decision. So I'm ready to go when you are. You just tell me.
Yeah, I guess we'll start now. People can come in as they may. So, hi, everybody, and welcome to the South Brunswick Historical Society. My name is Randy Marsola, and tonight we'll be discussing 100 years of sports events in South Brunswick. Joining me tonight is town historian Ed Belding. So, Ed, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Randy. What I tried to do, there were so many things to select from as far as competition, sport, athletics in South Brunswick Township. It's a rich history. Some of it goes back pretty far. Picks up momentum in the 1960s, of course, with the opening of the South Brunswick High School, and continues on at a feverish pace right up to the present. These are the competitive sports that I picked out for tonight. We start out with rifle shooting, then we have baseball, we have basketball, football, bowling, luge, wrestling, Ironman, triathlon, UFC competition, track, and softball. So that's quite a menu, and I'd like to start with the rifle shooting. Are we all set, Randy?
Yeah, just going to switch screens here.
Okay.
It's giving me a little bit of trouble, but hold on a second. Okay.
Okay, here we go. George A. Cockfair hailed from Deans. He attended Rutgers University in the 1920s. His passion was rifle shooting, and he was very good at it. He, of course, started rifle shooting in South Brunswick Township. He honed his skills while hunting in the woods and fields in the township, and there was plenty of acreage of that back in the day. You might consider South Brunswick Township not only a farmer's paradise, but a hunter's paradise as well. So use of the rifle was very common and very popular back in the 1920s and, of course, before then. he was good enough to make it as a member of the Rutgers College rifle team, and he led the team to a new collegiate record of 407 points out of a possible 500. This occurred in a tough match against New York University. This record was set in 1924 when the Rutgers team ended the season with 6 victories and 3 losses. For his stellar efforts, Kochfair was elected captain by his teammates for the 1925 campaign. Joining him were Stanley Morehouse, Edwin Wilson, George Jaston, Stephen McGeoghan, John Jakish, Eugene Bogart, and Henry Snyder. The only one from South Brunswick Township was, of course, our own George A. Kochfair. George graduated from Rutgers in 1925. He was selected for the national rifle matches, and he was also a member of the ROTC. And Randy, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, there's a question that came in. It says, was George a World War I vet, AKA SB Sergeant York? I'm not sure what they mean by that, but do you know anything about him being a vet from the First War?
I have a feeling no. I think he was, because we're talking about college, 1924. So I think he was too young to be in the service. And I guess the question is, did he serve under the officer that you meant there, the hero of World War I? So I don't think he was in that war.
He was too young.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Now, I could be wrong. But, because back in the day, a lot of people attended college and they were older. So, we get the concept that you go to college, you're 18, 19 years old when you start, maybe even 17. But a lot of guys back in the day were attending school in their 20s.
Okay.
So that's all I know on that.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, before my time, and if it's before my time, it's definitely before your time.
Right.
Okay, shall we go on?
Yeah, next we have up basketball champs from 1963.
No, I think it's baseball.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. You're right. Let me.
Do you have a picture of people bouncing a ball and shooting at a net, or do you?
No, they're actually, they're sitting. They're all sitting on a bench, and they are in baseball uniforms.
Oh, okay. So we got we got the right sport. That's good.
Yeah, I have a shot here of the team from '63. Okay.
Now, you got to keep in mind that South Brunswick High School goes back to 60-61. So right off the bat, and I have to preface this by saying that we need to do a lot of research on the high school athletes from South Brunswick before South Brunswick High School opened up. That would mean students from South Brunswick who attended Jamesburg High School, Princeton High School, and New Brunswick High School. And that is something that in the future years I'm going to be working on to see if I can find who the sports stars were that played for other high schools, but they came from and they lived in South Brunswick. I don't think that work has been done. But of course, we have to thank Jim Zinsmeister for a lot of information that he's provided. And maybe I can work with Jim on that, and he might have some ideas on that. Like there might be some people early on in the Hall of Fame that were before the high school. I doubt it, but maybe he has some information there. But that's something for the future. But anyway, let's turn back to May 25th, 1963. Back in the glory days of America's true pastime, baseball, the South Brunswick High School boys baseball team did its part. They clawed their way to the Group 1 Central Jersey State Championship and won a thrilling game by the close score of 5-4. This was truly a team effort with contributions coming from a bunch of standouts and role players. The roster on May 25th, 1963 included Jim Capendeas, Marty Leach, Richard Weiss, Ray Banco, Mike Toth, Tom Griggs, Bill Hankley, Enver Ahmed, Andy Hudak, Mike Featherstone, Dan Chiappone, Nick Dukas, and Michael Heisler. They were led by Coach Steve Bressett. The nucleus of the championship team was senior Dan Chiappone, the pitcher, junior Marty Leach, catcher, seniors Andy Hudak, the right fielder, Mike Featherstone, second baseman, and Jim Capendeas, outfielder and pinch hitter. Solid hitting was turned in by slugger Andy Hudak, left fielder Enver Ahmed, and first baseman Ray Banco. Two freshmen held down shortstop and third base, Tom Griggs and Mike Toth. Rich Weiss was the capable center fielder. The team started slowly at the beginning of the season. It looked and smelled like a rebuilding year. However, Coach Bressett knew his experienced core five would come through. Key to going from an also-ran squad to a championship one was the progress made by the younger, less experienced team members. They were hungry and caught on fast. The combination of veteran savvy and raw talent paid off in the second half of the season and the road to the championship. These Vikings proved how to turn a forgettable season into an unforgettable one. And so ends the comments about the 1963 baseball team. Anybody have any questions? Okay, Randy, are we ready for our next one?
Yep, we're ready to go.
Okay, what do you have?
Well, I have the picture I have here is from the 1968 Group 1 title in Atlantic City. So I have a lot of really great pictures here from that event.
Okay.
I got quite a few here.
Great. And that lines up with my notes. So
Okay.
far we're batting 1,000.
All right.
Okay. Now it's interesting as these groups go. You know that South Brunswick these days is in the largest school group, but back in the day, in the 1960s, we're talking about a much smaller school. So the competition here was in what was called the Group 1 State Championship in 1968. The team that was highly favored was East Rutherford. They beat East Rutherford 50-49, just by 1 point. The game was held at Atlantic City's Convention Hall, and you'll never guess how many fans saw the game. This was a high school game. 12,532 was the registered attendance for that game.
Why was the number so high like that?
Yeah, that was quite a number of fans. The heroes of the game for South Brunswick were Bud Rose, who dropped in 22 points, garnered 13 rebounds, and was also an All-State candidate at the time. John Bailey poured in 11 points, got 10 rebounds and 2 assists. Also participating and contributing were Eric Martin, John Traficante, Bob Griggs, Bob Latimer, Larry Greenwood, and Nick Boyko. South Brunswick wore their white uniforms. This was because a team superstition had developed that they would win if they wore their white uniforms. And I believe that superstition hung around for quite a while. Winning coach Al Balcom was tossed into the Atlantic Ocean after the victory, which was a tradition too. He could swim, so therefore he survived and was pulled out of the ocean. The team ended the season on a 6-game winning streak, and they topped it off by winning the Gold State Championship trophy. The coach was quoted as saying, "This is the greatest team I've ever had." And the key to the game was good defense against the high-scoring 6'9" Les Kaysen, freshman phenom from East Rutherford. I believe he went on to be in the pros. On Monday, after the win, all schools in the township were closed to honor the team. Even St. A's, the Catholic school, was closed. A reception ceremony was held at the high school. They did not throw the coach into the Willows Swim Club pool after the ceremony. He was wet enough from falling into the ocean. Okay, that takes care of the basketball state championship 1968.
I have some great pictures I'm showing here. There's some of the cheerleaders jumping up really high, and one of the guys that was injured. At least go back to his name. I think one of the favorites was John Bailey, and he sprained his ankle. And from what I understand, they thought that was going to be the end. Well, I think he was a high scorer, and I thought that the feeling was that
he was the second high scorer, and as I say, I mean, the score was 50-49, so they just eked out a victory over a very good team.
It was like the last couple of seconds, right? From what I understand.
Yeah. And the team pulled together, and they did pull it out.
I think Dick Vitale was the coach of East Rutherford at that time.
I don't have the coach for East Rutherford, but that's interesting.
I believe he was.
Huh.
Okay.
We could look that up. Another question that came in was, did Bud Rose go on to become a teacher at the high school? Do you happen to know that?
Did Bud Rose? Yeah, I think so, but I don't have confirmation of that. Of course, our Jim Zinsmeister would know.
Yeah, we can find out.
But I've run across Bud Rose's name several times.
And we just have some really great shots here. I'm showing one, the celebrations, and everybody's jumping into each other's arms. So I'm showing some really great photographs. And in fact, that's Trafficante right there on the left-hand side. I just happen to know that. That's him there.
Good.
So yeah, we got some phenomenal shots.
Yeah, just tell me when you're ready for the girls' basketball.
Anytime you are, I'm ready.
Oh, okay. You finished with the pictures there?
Yeah, we went through them as we were talking. I scrolled through.
Okay, good. Okay, it's working well. Okay, now, the girls' basketball team was also of championship quality, moving up to 1975, because I selected the Middlesex County tournament win. They had a record of 18-1 going into the state tournament. But the Middlesex County tournament team was a big deal. Of course, back in the day, to win the county title was great bragging rights for South Brunswick Township and any of the towns around it. Again, it was outstanding defense. And the high scoring by standout Sandy Domitar, that capped the victory for that tournament.
She's number 33 in the shot. I have the picture of them right now, and she's the tallest one there. She's number 33 in the center of the screen.
Right. I have the names of the ladies who were on the squad, so I'll read those off to you. The coach was George Hosea, and the following squad members were Phyllis Harker, Chrissy Hamway, Patty Thompson, Sue Demeter, Wendy Prouty, Helen Faulkner, Patty Marlinowski, Lisa Burke, Beth Forsell, Sissy Halpin, and Corinne Cornish. And of course, we can't forget Sandy.
Yeah, I have a couple of action shots of Sandy in these slides right here, and she's making a shot. I think it's one of these shots. I think to the left is when she scored over 100 points in a game. I had on the liner notes. So yeah, so she's clearly a star in this.
Quite a standout.
Yeah.
Now I have information on the boys basketball in 2007, but I don't know if you wanted to cover that or not.
Yeah, I do. I have some pictures, and they're up on the screen now. I had the team shot from 2007.
Yeah. What we're indicating here is that basketball is one of the major sports in South Brunswick Township, and the high school teams reflect that. The basketball leagues in town and the program leading up to high school is really solid, and the fruits of those sources indicate that year in and year out the South Brunswick Township High School basketball team is going to be highly competitive, both for the girls and the boys. So this is the Group 4 now, 2007 title game. March 11th was when this occurred. In the Greater Middlesex Conference Basketball Tournament semifinals, the South Brunswick boys varsity basketball team was heavily favored against Cardinal McCarrick, but the 25-1 Vikings lost by 3 points. Instead of getting down, the team rebounded with a victory over Freehold Township in the NJSIAA Central Jersey Group 4 Championship at Woodbridge High School. Now at 26-2, the Vikings found themselves in the NJSIAA Group 4 state semifinals against South Jersey champs Cherokee High School. South Brunswick bested Cherokee and earned a place in the state finals against Linden High School. They entered the finals with a school best ever record of 27-2. Whether they won or lost the game on March 11, 2007 at the Rutgers Rack, the Vikings of this year would go down in history as the only South Brunswick high school team in any sport to win so many games in a season. They played Linden tough right to the end, but lost 63-54. Thus, the greatest season in South Brunswick high school basketball history ended, but with a final season record of 27 wins and only 3 losses. There was much to be proud of. Kudos go to Coach Chris Ballant for taking the Viking team well beyond what was predicted for them. Outstanding players were senior forward Devon Young, senior guard Martin Soares, senior guard Brian Morgan, forward Mohammed Sanu, and center Vanish Machanda. Devon Young performed well in the final game of the season, as did Armand Wilson and Malcolm Soares. Great players and coaches make their mark and set the bar for those who follow. Sometimes the bar is raised quite high. This Viking effort in 2007 was one of those times. So ends the comments on the 2007 title game.
I guess we should mention that Mohammed Sanu went on to become a professional football player. I'm assuming everybody knows that, but yeah, so he was also on a winning basketball team.
He's a household name in South Brunswick and elsewhere also. He's one who went on to fame in the pros. That's true.
Yep. Okay, we're ready for the next one. Ending the losing streak.
Okay, you're ready for football.
Yeah.
Okay, now it took South Brunswick a bit of time to establish itself as a football powerhouse. And I remember when I first came to South Brunswick, the big talk was about the marching band and how great they were performing and winning competitions, but the football team was not doing very well at all. And I thought it would be interesting to at least make a few comments about when the infamous losing streak ended in 1967. South Brunswick was able to beat the winless Lawrence School 20-13. They staved off the opponent's rally after a 20-0 lead. So Lawrence School stormed back, but they fell short, and South Brunswick was able to win a game. Probably we don't remember most of these players, but you got to give them credit for really trying hard and getting South Brunswick on the track of winning some games. Jim Wheeler was the quarterback. Vic Andraco was the halfback. Lowell Sprague was a receiver. Wayne Conover was a fullback. Nick Boyko was a receiver. And Mark McDowell was a defensive standout at safety. Okay. Now I'm ready to take on the state champs 2017. Are you ready, Randy?
Yep, I'm ready. Just going through some screens here. I had a couple shots of the team from '67, and now we're moving on to 2017. So ready when you are.
Okay. I had lots of choices here. South Brunswick being in their group category, Central Jersey, 2012, 2015, 2017. But I picked 2017, and this would be Central Jersey Group 5. This was an upset. Manalapan High School was the top seed for the year, and they beat Manalapan 18-14 at Rutgers High Point Stadium. This was in 2017. The key play to the game was a 17-yard touchdown pass from Felix Quinones to Jalen Lawson. Only 53 seconds remained on the clock, and that touchdown pass put South Brunswick ahead for good. They finished the season 11-1. Standouts in the game and Lawson were Justin Shorter and Dylan Kriz. In the first quarter, South Brunswick was down 14-0. Things looked very bleak. But the team dug in and got it up to 14-12 by halftime. Keys to the game and the win, they slowed down the star running back Naeem Mayfield of Manalapan, the stellar passing of the quarterback Quinones, and the clutch plays by Jalen Lawson. He not only caught that winning touchdown pass, but he also had a key interception. The coach was Joe George at the time. Okay, Randy, I'm all finished with that.
Okay, we're ready for the luge people next, right? Here we go.
Okay, right. We don't ordinarily think of Luge and South Brunswick Township in the same breath. Main reason is you have to have great heights to perform the luge. You're sliding down a track, an elevated track, and at a very fast pace. And it's a little difficult to practice in South Brunswick, but we happen to have in our past two standouts in the tryouts for the Junior Olympics. And this reading will be about them. It's such an irony that South Brunswick Township has so few high hills, yet the place has so many nationally ranked luge competitors. Go figure. Our youngest competitor, Dayton's Erica Howell, a 12-year-old, tried out for the United States Junior Olympic luge team over the summer. The Crossroads seventh grader made the team even though she had no prior experience. Her athletic experience was in horseback riding, in which she was a medal winner, gymnastics, ice skating, softball, and volleyball. Erica equated her new sport to riding a roller coaster downhill all the way. She went to Long Island for tryouts and found that many participants lacked experience in the sport. 500 tried out, but only 30 made it. Next step was to go to the Olympic Village in Lake Placid, New York for training and competition. This was in March for 2 weeks in 1999. Her first competition was held at the Goodwill Games at the end of March. While back in South Brunswick, there was no place for Erica to keep that competitive edge. No practice facilities available. However, the resourceful Miss Howell found that laying on her brother's skateboard and rolling down the driveway at home was good enough. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's quite an interesting story from Erica. However, it doesn't end there. We move on to Eric Gittleman in 2005. Before finishing his freshman year at South Brunswick High School, Aaron Gittleman of Kingston became a champion. He captured first place at the Verizon U.S. Youth National Championships in luge racing at Lake Placid, New York, for boys 16 and under on February 27, 2005. Aaron's first choice in sports was lacrosse, which he played competitively in South Brunswick schools for several years. However, during a family vacation to Lake Placid, he was introduced to the sport of luge racing. Through connections with a dentist who had been in the 1984 Winter Olympics at Sarajevo and Verizon sponsored tryouts for the junior national team, Gittleman worked his way up from the junior development team to the junior team candidate select level. In his first year of competition at the select level, he placed fifth. He did well enough to be invited to the U.S. Junior National Championships for 20 and under a week later. Though only 13 at the time, Aaron placed ninth. A week earlier was when Gittleman came through with a victory in the 16 and under Youth National Championships category. His time was 46.097 seconds on his first round and put him in first place. He was 0.5 of a second ahead of the second place racer. His second round was 46.363 seconds, and that ensured him a first-place finish. Aaron sacrificed a great deal of class time in order to train for luge racing far from home. For weeks at a time, his teachers had to fax or email work to Aaron. His mother made sure he kept up with his studies. Such is life of a young champion. And I find that that is a very interesting and rewarding story in that it shows some variety in South Brunswick as far as athletics is concerned. And again, it puts us on a map in an interesting way. So, Randy, I'm finished with luge.
I have a question for you. You said that Erica trained by rolling her skateboard on the driveway, but do you have any idea how Aaron's trained? Did you hear anything about
Well, he trained out of state. He was able to train up at Lake Placid quite a bit.
Okay.
I don't know if they had a summer place up there or not, but yeah, he did his training out of state.
I mentioned this to somebody. It said it's like Cool Runnings, you know, that movie where the Jamaican bobsled team, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you know, we sort of have the equivalent, because you don't think of anybody from South Brunswick competing in luge.
Right.
You know, I mean, we've had all sorts of sports, minor sports and major sports that a lot of people haven't heard of. You know, like a roller derby team when the roller skating rink was around. That was going strong. You know, we had other competitions that really haven't been recorded yet. So we have plenty of stuff to use for next year or the year after.
Okay.
We're not going to run out of events, that's for sure.
We have a lot of material.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready for the next one.
Okay, the next one up on the screen here is South Brunswick, the wrestling team beating South Plainfield.
Okay. The South Brunswick wrestling team was like Avis. They were always behind basketball, behind baseball, behind football as far as major sports at the high school. And they had a so-so team for years and years. And then finally in 2001, they take on the perennial county championship team, South Plainfield. And South Plainfield had an attitude problem. And South Brunswick was ready to take them down a peg. At the time, in 2001, South Plainfield was ranked 6th in the state of New Jersey, to show you how good they were. And South Brunswick was not ranked in that year. Now, South Plainfield had won the Group 2 state championship in the year 2000. And the last time they lost to a Middlesex County opponent was in the 1996-97 season. So you see where the haughty attitude came from as far as South Plainfield is concerned. But none of that mattered to the Coach Doherty-led team. The standouts in the match were contributed by the 3 co-captains, Jad Duca at 135 pounds, Blake Saframelli at 171, and Pete Gibb at 182. Also having very good matches was Kyle Nasdio, Kevin Fox, Paul Strinkowski, and Ben Henry. Ben Henry won by forfeit, and the score at the end was 30-28, with South Plainfield being upset. The key to the match was that South Brunswick, even in losing, even for the wrestlers who lost, they did not give up extra points that, if added on to the South Plainfield score, they would have won. Other members of the team, co-captain Mike Doherty at 119, Mike Fittecaro at 125, Derek Cromarty at 215, Mike Valentino at 145, and Garrick Nasdio at 112. South Brunswick did go on to have a very impressive record that year. They were 17-2, and they placed 4th in the Middlesex County tournament. But the highlight of the year, of course, was that victory over South Plainfield. And that ends my comments on the wrestling.
Okay. So are you ready for the next one?
I sure am.
So we have Soren Hastrup, Ironman triathlete.
Okay. Now this is another unsung sport, not one we think of when we talk about South Brunswick. But you do see a lot of runners running around in South Brunswick, and this is probably one of our best athletes to compete, in that the triathlon involves three sports in one. That would be the cycling, the running, and the swimming. And Soren Hastrup made a name for himself in 2004. At the age of 34, an Ironman should start to show signs of rust, but not our Soren Hastrup of Monmouth Junction. On July 25th, 2004, he participated in the Ironman triathlon at Lake Placid, New York. This successful businessman entered the CEO Challenge category and placed 7th out of the 21 executives who entered the event. Hastrup's showing was good enough to place 4th in his age category. Overall, he came in 375th out of 1,900 finishers. To do so, Hastrup had to complete a 2.4-mile swim, a 112-mile bike ride, and a 26.2-mile run. That's quite a commute. He completed this triathlon in 11 hours, 17 minutes, and 32 seconds. This time surpassed his previous 2003 showing. The listener may ask how a busy managing partner of the Telesto Group LLC, which provides information technology services, does all this. Hastrup's secret is to take full responsibility for setting lofty goals and determining how best to achieve those goals. He hails from Denmark, where he was educated at Odense University. He came to New Jersey in 1994 and started running in marathons. When he got into training for Ironman events, Soren trained up to 16 hours per week. He swims at a pool in Morristown, but runs and bikes in the local area. His ulterior motive for fighting rust, wherever he finds it, was to lose weight. He has trimmed down from 205 to 180 pounds.
Wow.
Soren Hastrup recommends the Ironman triathlon to anyone desiring to lose weight. He has certainly found an ironclad method. That concludes my notes on Soren Hastrup.
I'd say it's just a feat to complete the Ironman. I did a little bit of competitive cycling back in the day, and to ride 100 miles, 112 miles is a feat in itself, but to do it at speed is something else. And I can't imagine the time you have to spend, because to be able to train at that for that many miles on a bike, it takes many, many hours along with the other things.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how much time it took just to train for that.
Yeah, over and over with these stories about the athletes from South Brunswick Township, you get this thing of the discipline involved, the self-discipline, and the stick-to-itiveness, and the fight against the odds, and the environment that you're in sometimes isn't conducive to the sport that you're participating in. But yet somehow, some way, these athletes have found a way to succeed. So you have to take your hats off and congratulate them for the effort made and setting an example for others. That can-do attitude. I think that's important. Okay, are we ready for the next one?
Yep, Ricardo Romero is up next, and I have a shot of him here. You can see him. He's in the center of the screen and from the high school yearbook, and you can make him out right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's 7 in from the left. So I have a shot of him from his Viking days.
Okay. This is a tough athlete, and he's in a relatively new sport that certainly tests your endurance. That's for sure. We go back to 2010 to start this. There's the easy way to gain a victory, and then there's the hard way. Dayton resident Ricardo Romero, a mixed martial arts specialist and former wrestler at South Brunswick High School, does not rely on lady luck. He prefers to earn his victories the hard way. After high school, Ricardo got into martial arts as a way to develop a workout regimen. From there, he decided to get competitive and join the Ring of Combat in Atlantic City. This is an organization before the UFC came along. Later, he became a member of the MMA. That's the mixed martial arts. Along the way, he learned various fighting styles and techniques, including Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. He turned pro in 2007 and garnered a 5-0 record, which included 4 knockouts. Also along the way, Ricardo has been hit hard in the head, staggered, and suffered blurred vision. However, he has always kept his composure and fought through the pain. When not in the ring, Romero has spent his working hours as a day trader on the New York Mercantile Exchange. He has been successful in this different kind of competitive environment as well. Romero's ultimate goal was to enter the UFC, the prize level of MMA fighting. On July 3, 2010, he made his debut UFC appearance in the ring in Las Vegas. He earned a submission victory over Seth Petruzzelli by using an armbar hold in the second round. The match was broadcast on Spike TV and was on the undercard of a heavyweight championship fight. The victory did not come easy. Romero broke his jaw in the first round and took several heavy shots to the torso. He also tore a pectoral muscle. In the second round, Romero switched tactics and worked on getting Petruzzelli to the ground. He forced his opponent to tap out. Victory was gained the hard way. And that ends the comments on Ricardo Romero.
Okay. So up next we have bowling.
Okay, yeah, this is the boys and girls bowling teams. Bowling has been around a few years, South Brunswick High School, and in a sense, it's an unsung sport. It's not one of the major sports, and some people would say, "Oh, wait a minute, it isn't a sport at all." But judging by the competitive level and the energy and effort that's put forth by the participants, you definitely have to reconsider that and call this a definite sport. So we go back to 1996. The South Brunswick High School boys bowling team rolled to the NJSIAA State Championship at Carolier Lanes in North Brunswick for the first time in March of 1996. The competition was stiff, but the team members, Dave Eisenberg, Joe Moy, Tom Stevens, Darian LeMay, and Brian Banco, were up to the challenge. Coach Bob Kingpin Koschel acknowledged that these boys were the best bunch he ever coached. These Vikings formed a fine-tuned fighting machine that bowled with precision and showed no mercy. At the Tournament of Champions, South Brunswick racked up scores of 1,056, 987, and 1,060 for a total of 3,103 points. Kearney High School placed second with a total of 2,814, and East Brunswick third with 2,771. The Vikings grabbed the lead in the first game and never let up. The team was led by senior Dave Eisenberg, one of the best high school bowlers in the Greater Middlesex Conference. Dave was glad to see the Viking bowlers come together as a team, which peaked at the right time. According to Eisenberg, the addition of Darian LeMay to the team turned the bowlers into a championship squad. LeMay was a transfer from Franklin High School. He gave the Vikings that boost in confidence that brought them to the top. Also, the improved play from Tom Stevens and Joe Moy helped turn the team into champions. Brian Banco turned in his best tournament performance of his young career. All these ingredients added up to a can't-lose recipe that led to a feast for the Viking bowlers. And, not to be outdone, we have the Viking girls. The South Brunswick High School girls bowling team won its first NJSIAA Tournament of Champions crown by defeating defending champion Manchester Township 3-1 in the best-of-5 Baker format at Brunswick Zone Carolina Lanes in North Brunswick on Monday, February 15, 2010. Coach Tara Berniston used only superlatives to describe the dedication and stick-togetherness of this team. Going into the tournament, the Lady Vikes had already won the Group 4 competition. In the first game against the TFC defending champs, they lost 266 to 179. In the second game, seniors Carly Kohontanses, Kimberlyn Sutton, and Jackie Sutton came through big time by rolling strikes in frames 8 through 10 to even the match. 2 more game wins and the competition was decided, with the Lady Vikes coming out on top. Other members of the team were Allison Zamiti, Kaylee Kimberlin. The coach, Berniston, confessed that this team was the best she ever had. Their commitment was 100%, and the energy level was off the charts. A letdown was unthinkable for this squad. The team members have set the bar for all future Lady Viking bowlers. And as I understand it, the bowling team is still going strong. So ends my notes on bowling, Randy.
Okay, I just had some shots up there throughout the years from 96 and 2010. And the next one we have here is the track, South Brunswick track in 2014.
Okay, right. I'll get right into it. At the annual Penn Relays on April 25th and 26th, 2014, the South Brunswick High School boys track 4x800 team broke the Middlesex County record twice. On the first day, seniors Matt Tomasi, Nick Neville, and Morgan Murray, and junior Matt Zamorski posted a time of 7 minutes, 44.56 seconds for third place in the trials. They advanced to the finals on the next day. Coach Wilfredo Rivera was proud of the foursome's effort. They were not far behind the Calabar team from Jamaica, which posted a winning time of 7 minutes, 37.36 seconds. The Vikings had beaten a Middlesex County record time, which had stood for 39 years. It would be hard to duplicate that effort against the other 11 top team finalists. On the 26th, the day of the finals, Christian Garrido had to replace Matt Zamorski, but no one doubted the Viking team would perform well. The new foursome put in a stellar time of 7 minutes, 43.46 seconds and placed fifth. Thus, the Middlesex County record was broken again. Coach Rivera was quite proud of the double record-breaking times, an unusual sidelight in the 120-year-old Penn Relays, which were held in front of thousands of spectators. The Viking boys were happy just to have been selected to participate. They were also happy to have made a respectable showing. but they were happiest about breaking the county record in the 4x800. Not once, but twice. That ends my notes on the record-breaking 4x800 team.
Yeah, I have a picture here of a team picture here of them, and they look so happy. They're just all goofing around in the shot. They look like
There you go.
a funny bunch. Yeah, they look like they're having a good time.
There
Next
you go.
one I have, what's that?
Go ahead.
No,
Sweet bird of youth.
Yeah, they really look, they're goofing around and having a good time. The next one up is the girls softball,
Okay.
the county champs in 2016. And I have a really phenomenal picture here I grabbed from the yearbook. It's Nicole Majewski, and she's winding up for a pitch, and her ponytails flying up in the air. It's just a fantastic shot. So it was great to get this one. But
Okay.
take it away.
Okay. Softball is another sport that struggled for a while, came on and is doing very well in the last few years. They garnered their first Middlesex County title in 2016. They were in an 11-inning game versus South Plainfield. South Plainfield was the #1 seed. So the South Brunswick team was the underdog in the game, and they won the game 6-4. This softball tournament is a 43-year-old tournament, so softball has been around probably a lot more years for competition than we realize. But South Brunswick was able to pull out a come-from-behind victory against South Plainfield. Standouts, as Randy mentioned, Nicole Majewski, the pitcher, to show how tough she was in this game, she saved her best for last. South Plainfield, in the last inning, managed to load the bases. Didn't bother Nicole at all. She struck out 2 and had the last batter pop up, and the game was over. Other standouts in the game were Lindsay Warwick, Haley Grossi, Julie Kirkala, Emily Collins, Kate Mastro, and Carly Rabinski. And the winning coach was Heather Wells. And
Okay,
that ends my comments on the softball.
I have a couple other shots here. I have Carly Rabinski up here holding the bat and smiling, and Julia Krukella also. And these are some really great shots from the yearbook that I got. And Jamie Clemens. Yeah, so she's just about to connect with the softball with the bat. So it's a great shot. Now, was that the end of what you were going to talk about? Or did you have anything?
Yes, because as I say at the beginning, I made selections, and the great thing about this is we can revisit this for the next few years because there's just so much information, and I've only touched on a little bit of the outstanding performances of teams and individuals in the area of athletics and sports and competition in South Brunswick. So I look forward to doing this again, and I'm hoping that we can get Jim Zinsmeister to be involved in one of our meetings, either Zoom conference or live, in future times because he's a wealth of information.
Yeah,
and he's the go-to guy. You know, if anybody's interested in finding out performances, records, that sort of thing, history of sports at South Brunswick High School, he's the guy to go to. And I would recommend, you know, if you haven't visited the high school, you can drop in and visit and tour through the hallways and see all the plaques and stuff that they have for the various teams. You know, it's like going to a museum in a sense. All the stuff that you can read about and see. So I recommend that highly.
Yeah, and And in doing this research, I had found out some information about Coach Mike Elko. So I can talk about that a little bit.
Right, sure, great.
So Mike Elko was the head coach, the football coach at South Brunswick High School. Tragically, he died on the field while coaching a junior varsity baseball game, the team in 1977. So yeah, it was really tragic. And then the field was named in his honor. So that's how the field got its name. But another thing I found out along the way was there's a picture of me here on the far right as well. This trophy was also a type of thing that they do every Thanksgiving Day. It's called the Thanksgiving Day battle is called the Battle of the Brunswicks. So it's a rivalry between South and North Brunswick. And this has been going on since '75. So since then, every year they play for this trophy named in his honor, and whoever wins the game gets to keep it at their school. So that was interesting. I found that out. I mean, probably people who live in town know about that too, because I guess they go to the games. But the other thing I found out was there's another Mike Elko who graduated from South Brunswick in 1995, and he was a quarterback on the team. He's now the defensive coordinator of Texas A&M. So he played on the field that was named for his great uncle at South Brunswick High School. So, because when I first started to look up information on Mike Elko, I found this guy who was graduated in '95, and I thought, is it possible he's got the same name? And yeah, he's actually related. So he played on the field that was dedicated to his great uncle. I thought that was pretty interesting. And some of the other shots I have here, because when I went through to get all the pictures for this and the research, I found some interesting shots. And this is a field hockey player from the 1971 Valhalla yearbook. And this is Dave Prouty. I had a picture of him that James Zinsmeister gave to me. So he was the star running back in '73 and '74. And here's a picture of James. He's actually sliding into third base that he just stole. So he's doing okay there. And there's a picture of him from back in the day. And this is the '77 Vikings football team. You can tell from the hairstyle of almost what year it was. And then I found, this is rare to find a picture of the marching band because they had such a successful marching band. I found the picture from '77 of them out in the field. So I wanted to include that too. And this is the '71 girls basketball team. And what I found unusual about this was they were still wearing skirts and dresses in '71. And I don't know if that was normal then or if it was unusual at the time, but you don't see that thing anymore. You don't see those things anymore. So there was a picture of the girls. You can see them on the sidelines too, with skirts on. So that was an unusual shot. And the last one I have is a promotional. This is the first football game played at the new high school in 1961. So it was South Brunswick versus Pemberton on September 30th, 1961. And I don't know who did the artwork for this, but it's a great shot. So I was glad to be able to get a scan of this. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to cap it off with those things. And I guess if anybody has any questions, they can ask. Have anything they'd like to know about? So if not, you can always email me questions and I can find out either from James or I can look it up myself, or Ed will know. We can get back to you on it. But yeah, that would conclude our sports program for tonight.
Okay, and Randy, I did want to mention upcoming Zoom conferences that we're going to have, that we've discussed, but the listeners may not be aware of. We're off in August, that right?
Yes. Yep.
Right, okay. So July and September, in July, since it's, the 4th of July and so forth, and South Brunswick was in what's called the cockpit of the American Revolution. What a lot of people don't know is that there was actual fighting in South Brunswick. They probably have heard of the Battle of Princeton. They probably have heard of the British occupying New Brunswick. They've, of course, heard of the Battle of Trenton. They may not know that there were two battles in Trenton, but the thing is, there was also fighting in South Brunswick, and that I want to feature in our July meeting. And then we've basically decided that in September we're going to do the meanings of the road names in South Brunswick. One of the listeners suggested that as a topic, and I think it's a great one. So we'll cover that in September. Those are the two upcoming ones that I wanted to mention.
Okay, yeah, good, good. Thanks for mentioning those. And again, stay tuned and look for the fourth Tuesday of the month. And we'll be doing the July presentation about the battles in South Brunswick. So stay tuned, and thanks for coming out, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, good night, Randy.
All right, good night, everybody.
Okay.